general terms and provisions of the return to work formula agreement between UASU and IPCCUF dated 26 September 2024, and that ended a strike by UASU members in September 2024. The status of implementation of this return to work agreement on 28th of October 2024. Number 3, any challenges that may have been experienced in the implementation of the return to work agreement. And 4, proposed way forward to resolve the dispute and resumption of learning in our universities. So you are directed to come before this committee at 10, room 18, third floor of the Bunge Towers. And you are to do submissions of 20 copies through our secretariat, and the mail was given to you. Honorable members and invited guests, the purpose of this discussion is actually to bring an amicable solution. And why we are doing that is to, as members, as representative of Kenyans, the students who are affected, the parents, and the general public, and the malice that is going on in the universities is really affecting everyone. That it is not right for this committee to stand or to sit and watch as things degenerate. I know you had a return to work formula, which we didn't participate, because when we saw things were going on very well, we felt very good. But now when things now move the way they are, it forced us now to come in and ask, what is the solution? Why don't you agree? If the government has offered you something, maybe, or how much, can the government not able to give? Can they stagger it and give you later on? Those are the issues we want to listen from you. So I shall give 20 minutes to UASU to make his presentation. Thereafter, we listen to IPCCUF, and thereafter I'll allow members to ventilate and ask particular questions on issues that have been raised by both sides, so that we can really reach an amicable solution and, if possible, be able to go back to work. Let me start with UASU. Is that agreeable? Yes, you can start, and then 20 minutes, and then 20 minutes to the chairman of the negotiating team.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman, and honorable members of the Departmental Committee on Education and Research of the National Assembly. The problem we have in our public university is as a result of the Vice Chancellor's Committee. When they were doing introduction, you were even wondering, what is IPCCF? IPCCF is a consortium of council members. But the people before you are vice chancellors. That is where the problem is. Because in public universities, we are negotiating amongst ourselves. And when members of a family are negotiating among themselves, there are conflict of interest. I would request this Honorable House to stall this problem. Kindly remove vice chancellors from negotiating CBAs in public universities. The University's Academic Staff Union.
Yes, you've raised a very pertinent issue, which I want to ask. The employer of lecturers and staff at the universities is the University Council. Yes. The Vice Chancellor is the CEO of that council. So in effect, he is implementing what the board has directed him to do. So he is sitting here as a representative of the council. That is my understanding. So in effect, what I'm trying to tell you, Dr. Wasonga, is that as the Vice Chancellor is seated here, he is seated as the Secretary of the Council, is it? Is that the position? Yes, Barasa.
That is right, Honorable Chair.
Yes.
We sit here as the Secretary to the Councils, and with the direct mandate of the Council and terms of reference to negotiate. And the Chair, we negotiate with unions grade 1 to 15. None of the Vice Chancellors falls in those grades.
Thank you. Yes. So Let's have Honorable Taitumu and then Honorable Njendi.
Chair, if I have heard well the statement from the Secretary General WASU, it's as if they are conflicted in a manner that they are negotiating as two entities that are in the universities. And I think, are you insinuating that if you have to be earned, you'll be earned separately? As WASU?
What I'm trying to say, Honorable Chair,
what we've had you. What honorable member is raising is bringing a different issue altogether. You are just saying the Vice Chancellor is an employee of the council. Is it?
We are also employees of the council.
But you see, he is an elevated employee because he is a council secretary. Yes, let's listen to Malulu, and then we go back to member for Luanda.
Chair, I happen to have come from university background. It's a pertinent issue for us to consider. You see, Vice Chancellor, when it comes, because I'm seeing here, the Interpublic Universities Council's Consultative Forum. You see, the Vice Chancellor and lecturers, all of them are supervised by the council. So, Chairman, it becomes difficult. He is an employee. The Vice Chancellor is an employee arising from the council supervision. These employees are fighting for their rights. One of them is elevated to negotiate. There's a problem, Chairman. There's a problem. We must have actually the council itself.
Yes, let's member for Luanda and then member for Kibra.
Thank you, Chair. I've listened very keenly to the SG, and from the word go, it seems we are headed for a tough time because the SG puts it that they lack confidence in the people seated before us this morning in my own thinking. Given that all these people are employees of the council, if that's the case, Chair, I therefore wonder if the secretary of the council, who happens to be a VC, will be competent enough, authoritative enough to speak on behalf of the council chair, who would have taken this different view. So I want to agree with SG that maybe the reason why we've had all these issues going on and on is because of such a representation by the chair. Would it be in order that you rule that the council be present for us to have any meaningful discussions?
Yes,
Chairman, I think I'm just in concurrence because unionism, we must look at pertinent issues. I don't think the Vice Chancellor are in a position to sort out this matter. I think we should rule that we have the council here, council members here, because the Vice Chancellors are employees of the council. They will have no authority over the other workers. So I'm in concurrence with my colleagues, and I think we should rule that we have the council here, not represented by Vice Chancellors.
Yes, any other, before I make my deliberations? Actually, this is a preliminary to our discussion. Any other? So, if none, I just want to pose this question to WASU. This is an issue which you raised. And rightly before me, there is an agreement you signed with IPCCUF. Is that true? And in this particular agreement, I've seen your signature appended and the signatures of Grace Nyongesa is there. And on behalf of the University's Council, IPCCUF, is Professor Barasa. Is this document valid if you signed and you deposited with the Minister of Labor?
May I explain,
yes.
Chair?
If it is valid, therefore, yes.
The document is valid,
yes.
And if you check that document, it was signed by the interministerial. IPCCF sent their representative. The reason why we went the interministerial way is because of the conflict of interest I'm talking about. That's the reason why we requested the Minister for Labor to come. We requested the PS, State Department for Higher Education and Research to come. Because when we are on our own with the Vice Chancellors, we can't agree. This morning, I want to give you an example. The Vice Chancellor Committee is giving notice to councils, is giving notice to management, to Senate, and staff. I will table.
Order, yes. I will.
So what we are asking...
You table that document so that it can assist us in making decisions.
You can so we were wondering, how can Vice Chancellor's Committee chairperson give notice to his employer? I think it should be the other way around. He's giving notice to council. So we were wondering, who is this Vice Chancellor's Committee chair? And is this Vice Chancellor's Committee registered anywhere in Kenya? I've done search, I've not seen that committee anywhere.
I've heard you. Yes,
Chair, with your permission.
Barasa, yes.
Chair, with your permission and honorable members, some points of clarification. Clarification number one. Since the unions started in Kenya up to today, the Vice Chancellors have been negotiating and registering CBAs on behalf of the councils, including this one, including what they are enjoying and what they have ever enjoyed in the past. Number two, Chair, IPUCCF consists of chairs of council and vice chancellors. That is the membership of IPUCCF. University councils also includes the vice chancellor as a member of that council and the secretary of that council. Without the vice chancellor, the council is not fully constituted. That is by law. So, Chair, IPUCCF in its constitution includes vice chancellors who are the chairs of those councils. And that is as established. And Chair, all CBAs from the very first to this one have been negotiated the way we are doing. And Chair, I've already informed these members that vice chancellors are not conflicted because we don't fall in the grades for which CBA negotiations are being negotiated. These CBA negotiations are negotiated for grade 1 to grade 15. Vice chancellors are in grade 20. So none of the vice chancellors enjoys the terms that we are negotiating for, Chair. Just for point of clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And let me pose this question to, let me ask the two members who walked in to introduce themselves. Then I pose the last question to Member Songa. Member for Siaya, introduce yourself kindly.
Morning, everybody. My name is Christine Ombaka, MP for Siaya, and a member of this committee.
Morning, everyone. My name is Anne Muratha, the County MP, Kiambu.
Thank you. Back to you, Wasonga. I've seen a notice to councils and management, and it is from Professor Mugendi, who is a Vice Chancellor, Secretary to IPCCF, Chairperson, Vice Chancellor's Committee, and Vice Chancellor, University of Embu. You've enjoyed a number of CBS of benefits as a result of negotiating with IPCCF. Is that true?
That's very true, Honorable Chair.
And that particular negotiation you did with IPCCF, is that okay?
Very much.
And in the same note, you've taken most of these documents to the labor laws, and they are valid and they are recognized by the courts every other time you go. Is that true?
That's true, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Emanating from that, therefore, I would think that our meeting is well constituted. And I will direct that you continue prosecute your discussion, and the vice chancellors, the councils under the vice chancellors will also prosecute theirs. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Not members of council; they are ex officio.
Proceed, prosecute the issue. And the vice chancellors, you are not negotiating for yourself in this. You are negotiating. You are here on behalf of the council as secretary to the council. Is it?
That is correct.
Proceed there.
The University Academic Staff Union highly welcomes and appreciates the invitation by the Departmental Committee on Education and Research to deliberate on the University Academic Staff strike and the status of implementation of the return to work formula signed on 26th September 2024. The signing of that return to work formula was as a result of the intervention by the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection in conjunction with the Principal Secretary, State Department for Higher Education and Research. The terms of the Interministerial Committee were as follows. It is in document A. So the terms for that committee is in document A, and it had 9 objectives. And that document was negotiated, the terms of reference were negotiated between the union and the ministry, and we arrived thereafter.
Document, I want us to be very procedural and chronological.
It is document A.
Document A is a letter written to...
That is the terms of reference for the Interministerial Committee.
On 24 people, is it? Is that okay?
It was written on 30th September 2024.
Yes. Proceed.
Now, I want to move to the substantive issue of this meeting, where the committee required us to give the general terms and provisions of the return to work formula agreement between IPCF and UASU, dated 26th. That document is document B. In particular, I want to take members to clause 4 of that agreement. Just count, clause 4 is on page 3 of 6. It states the employer shall immediately pay the basic monthly salary at the advanced rates by the government by the Interministerial Committee as follows. A, for grades 13, grades 14, and grades 15A at 7%, and for grades 10, A, 11A, and 12A at 10%. Then we add a transitional clause, which reads, IPCCF and UASU to convene by Friday, 27 September 2024 to simulate the salary scales for financial year 2023-2024 and financial year 2024-2025, which will be implemented in the salaries of October 2024. Consequently, the CBA for the cycle of 2021-2025 shall cover the last 2 years of the cycle beginning 1st July 2023. Clause 5, automatic annual increment shall be computed at 4% of the basic salary for the 2 years of the CBA, cycle of 2021-25, starting 1st July 2023. That is where we are now. And I want to say, Chairman, after that, we adhered to that and we formed a committee. So the terms of the return to work formula is document B. Members, you have it. You can refer to the terms. I want to move to item 2, the status of implementation of the return to work formula signed on 26th and as at 28th October 2024. I want to say that clause 1, that required the union to call off the strike, was adhered to. We called off the strike immediately. Still clause 1, IPCCF was supposed to withdraw the court case E780 of 2024. I want to say that they have not withdrawn that case as per the terms of the return to work formula. As we honored our part, IPCCF did not honor their part. Clause 2, we agreed that no member was going to be victimized for having participated on the strike. I want to report here, no member was victimized. Clause 3, UASU was to collaborate with the employer to establish a viable plan for recovery of any teaching and learning time lost due to the strike. I want to say that our members cooperated. They came up with a schedule to go an extra mile to cover the lost time during the pendency of the strike. Clause 4, which I read earlier, I want to say it has not been implemented as was agreed. Mr. Chairman, after signing of the return to work formula, joint negotiation committee formed a technical team. First of all, we met at cooperative. It was on 28th. I want to refer you to document C, a letter dated 27th September 2024, where we were invited. We went to cooperative university, and we came up with the terms of reference and the names for the technical committee. UASU appointed 3 members to be in the technical committee. KUSU appointed 3 members to be in the technical committee. KUDEA 3 members, and IPCCF add their team. If you move to document B, you will see the composition of the committee. And the terms of reference for that committee is on that letter. It is document D, dated 28 September 2024. The technical committee worked from 30th September to 2nd October and prepared a report. Thereafter, a meeting was convened. We were invited to a meeting, the same 28th, and now the JNC is joint negotiation committee. We went to Machakos. The letter inviting us to JNC is document E. We went to Machakos on 3rd. The technical team took us through the simulation. On 4th, they took us through the simulation. And their report is document F, where each and every member of the technical team signed. On 4th, we adopted the report of the technical committee. They came up with the 2 scenarios. And the members checked what we have been doing, how we have been implementing CBAs in public universities from 2003 to date. And we agreed that the scenario that fits the return to work formula was scenario 1. And this scenario, the cost of the CBA was 9.7 billion. And members adopted. Honorable Chair, after 2 days of discussion, we adopted. We expected now the committee to take the report to the Ministry of Education for them to provide funds. On 15th of October, we were invited to the Interministerial Committee. We went to the Interministerial Committee. The report was tabled. Then the Interministerial Committee now said, yes, we have seen how you have simulated.
Why is the letter inviting you to interministerial?
Interministerial. I have it, but I didn't attach it, but I'll attach it here. I have the letter. Musebi, get me the letter?
Yes.
It was the letter dated 15th, inviting us to the Interministerial Committee.
Yes. Proceed.
Now they said, we also want to simulate to check whether your simulation is correct. Honorable members, you should note that when we read the terms of the return to work formula, there is nowhere where it is stated that the Interministerial Committee will simulate. We left them because there was nothing we were hiding. We told them, oh, go and simulate. We were called on 23rd. photocopy for them. Photocopy. On 23rd now, they did the simulation. They came up with their report. The intermediate committee came up with the first scenario. The first scenario, they said, the way they have calculated it, they see that the cost of implementing this CBA is 8.6 billion. And that method they used, we have not used it in the university because they were just adding 10, 7%, and 4%. And they arrived at 8.6 billion. They came up with another scenario. We call it scenario 2. Where now they said the cost of the CBA is 5.1 billion. And this one now, they were not factoring the automatic annual increment. They also came up with another scenario, known as scenario 3, where they came up with 4.3 billion. In this 4.3 billion, they were giving every employee at the university 7.6%. And I want members of the committee to note, there is nowhere in the return to work formula where 7.6% is mentioned. We move to scenario 4. In the scenario 4, they said that the cost of the CBA is 4.286 billion. And in this one, the last scenario, they decided to give now every employee at the university 2.3% for the first year. And the second year, for people who are supposed to get 7%, they decided to give them 4.6%. Then the people who are supposed to get 10%, in the last year, they decided to give them 7.765%. Honorable Chair, I want to say, these scenarios of the interministerial committee is not in the return to work formula, and their simulation method has never been applied in implementing CBAs in universities from 2003 to date. The union was dissatisfied with all those scenarios since they went against the conventional way of implementing salary increments in the public university sector. That marked the genesis of the disagreement between the employer and the union. Clause 5. We negotiated for 4% automatic annual increment. But now, in these scenarios, their last scenario, now they wanted us to retain what has been in existence. And what has been in existence is that members get automatic annual increment to the tune of 1%. Members, you know, automatic annual increment is given to employee to cushion the employee from the vagaries of inflation. 1% cannot cushion an employee from the vagaries of inflation. Our inflation rate ranges between 6 to 7%. So that one we have not been honored. Clause 6, we agreed on the retirement age. After signing, the employer has vehemently refused to implement the retirement age. And our members are now being forced to clear from universities. While we have an agreement, they know it is 74 to 70. So members are leaving because they have refused to implement even clause 6 that does not need further negotiation. Clause 7 to 10, clause 7 to 12, Honorable Chair, has not been implemented. Because we agreed, if you check return to work formula clause 8, there were items that were supposed to be negotiated within 1 month, from 1st of October to 31st of October. IPCCF and the Interministerial Committee deliberately rolled the days until 1 month elapsed. And to date, we have not negotiated the items in clause 8, and the time has expired. Challenges that we have faced in implementing this CBA. One of the challenges is the introduction of 4.3 billion, which is not in the return to work formula. In the return to work formula, Honorable Chair, we are talking about figures. There is no mention of a global figure. So we were surprised when now they are telling us what the government has offered is 4.3. Let us try to fit it. I want to say whether you fit it like what, it cannot conform to the terms and provisions of the return to work formula. So that is one challenge. The next challenge is that we agreed that clause 8 was supposed to be negotiated within 1 month.
Chair.
Yes.
Just clarification. Do we have a document that gives the 4.3 billion from the interministerial?
They have not supplied us with, because they are the ones working on it. They have not given us.
So in effect, it is hearsay.
It is just, those are their figures.
I'm saying to you, it is therefore hearsay.
It is just hearsay. We don't have a document.
Proceed.
The interministerial committee was supposed to convene the negotiation of the 8 remaining items from 1st October.
You have 4 minutes to go.
Okay. They have not done that. Honorable Chair, I want to say that our proposal is this. Let the government and the IPCCF strictly adhere to the terms and provisions of the return to work formula. 2, I gave examples, that is G. Honorable Chairs, you can move to G. You can see how we have been implementing our CBS. It is not different from the simulations the technical team came up with. I've given analysis and simulation of 2013-2017 CBA. It is G. And I put the CBA there. When we go to H, I've given analysis how we implemented 2017-2021 CBA. It is not different from the simulation from the technical committee. Honorable Chair, I've also given analysis, that is in J, I, analysis how civil service implement their CBS and the automatic annual increment that is given to the civil service employees. That is in document I, Civil Service 2021-2025 CBA. Then the last one, I've given, the last one is J. J, I've also given simulation of what the technical team arrived at. Honorable Chair, I want to say that we are very grateful for having invited us here, and I'm now prepared to answer any questions.
Maybe before you end, there is a proposed way forward. I don't know why you have not given.
The proposed way forward.
Can you read it?
Our proposed way forward, Chair, is this. We are requesting the government and IPCCF to strictly adhere to the terms and provisions of the return to work formula signed on 26th September 2024. This return to work formula was publicized in public. It was read to the members of the public.
The next one, read them.
The next one, the union wishes to show, we have shown how the CBS have been implemented. And we are requesting that let us not deviate from how we have been implementing our CBS by bringing in new parameters. The last one, I've also shown that the Machakos University simulation were correct, and members of the ANC adopted them. So let us stick to what members adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, let me have 2 members who walked in, 3.
Withdraw or expunge. Because usually in Parliament, we don't rely on rumor on hearsay. On your own admission, you are saying that this 4.3 billion is hearsay. Can you then withdraw or expunge from our records so that it does not become a point of argument by the council?
In fact, it's not a point of argument, not become a parliamentary record.
Let me withdraw. If withdrawing it will help me, I've withdrawn. I don't want to hear that 4.3. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Proceed. No, not as a matter of anything, but as a matter of parliamentary procedure.
Yes.
Because it is never documented anywhere. That's why I asked you that question. Have they given you a document? You say no. Where did you get it? It is just hearsay. So we are just doing that for parliamentary record. Yes. Member for Marakwet West. Yes.
Now, before that withdrawal is put on record, would like whether...
You're out of order, Honorable Troitich.
Whether...
Out of order, out of order.
Chair, let me rephrase.
Out of order, out of order. The member has withdrawn. It is his information. So you have no... You don't actually have to force him into that.
Chair, you see, that 4.3 billion figure, the global figure will...
First of all, I want you to note, as a matter of procedure, he has withdrawn.
Chair,
so it's not a matter of discussion.
Let me rephrase, because that 4.3 billion figure, global figure, will form a significant part of our prosecution here. So, Chair, I want to confirm from... Chair, give me time to prosecute this matter. It's very important. Chair, just be patient.
You know,
Chair,
members, we must follow procedure. And I'm sticking to the procedure because the matter has been withdrawn and he has just disowned it. Therefore, you will prosecute your issue later. Please, let's
just
proceed.
Listen to me, because this one will form...
Yes, explain it.
No, Chair.
Yes. Order.
Chair, let me get clarification.
Out of order, authority. We cannot proceed without following procedure. You're out of order.
Okay.
You're out of order completely. So, members, we've heard from from the union. We'll give 20 minutes. This discussion is joint. I'll request the IPCCUF, led by the negotiator, to table his. Then we'll now give you 40 minutes discussion on the same, because we can't query him without hearing you. Proceed, Professor Barasa.
Honorable Chair, and honorable members, thank you very much. Alleged that one of the conditions was for IPUCF to withdraw the case that we had filed in cause number E780 of 2024. Chair, the correct facts are like this. After signing the return to work formula and after agreeing to withdraw the case, when the matter came up in court after signing the return to work formula, the lawyers for the union, UASU, refused to withdraw at that point upon oral submission. It was agreed in Machakos that the two parties... You are reading. I'm giving a verbal response to that claim for clarification before I present my report.
I just want you to respond to the issues that you've raised.
Thank you, Chair.
Later on, you will respond to what you are saying. So stick to your presentation.
Well guided, Honorable Chair. Chair, in our response, we are noting that there was a communication dated 29 where we were invited here to give our response. The first one was for us to give the general terms and provisions of the return to work formula dated 26 September 2024. And the specific question was, what are the general terms and provisions of the return to work formula between UASU and IPCCF dated 26 September 2024 that ended the September 2024 strike? With respect to this, Chair, we indicate that the call for industrial action in September 2024 by the three unions of UASU, KUSU, and KUDEA workers prompted interventions by the Cabinet Secretaries for Ministry of Education and Ministry of Labor in signing the return to work formula on 26. Specifically, Chair, the general terms of the return to work formula between IPUCF and UASU were that, 1, salary increment would be 7% for staff in grade 13A and 13A up to 15A, and 10% increment for grade 10A to 12A. The second provision was that annual increment, there will be an automatic 4% annual increment. With respect to implementation date, increments were to be effected from the October 2024 payroll. With respect to retirement age adjustments to 70 up to 74 years for teaching staff. And on pending issues, Chair, the Interministerial Committee is to sit for 1 month beginning 1st October 2024 to resolve the following pending issues. And the pending issues in the return to work formula related to harmonization of other allowances, medical cover, internal CBS, enhanced staffing in public universities and their constituent university colleges, budget for promotions, and budget for car loan and mortgage scheme. There was a transitional clause in the return to work formula, which stated that IPUCF and WASU to convene by 27th of September 2024 to simulate the salary scales for the financial years 2023-2024 and financial year 2024-2025, which would be implemented in the salaries of October 2024. Consequently, the CBA for the cycle of 2021-2025 is to cover the 2 years of the cycle beginning 1st July 2023. Chair, we have given and asked the honorable members to note that similar return to work formula was signed with IPUCCF and the other 2 unions, that is KUSU, that represents non-teaching staff between grade 5 and 15, and the KUDEHA, which represents non-teaching staff workers in universities that fall between grade 1 and grade 4. But there were only 2 variations. With respect to KUSU, 7% increment for staff in grade 13 and 15, and 10% increment for staff in grade 5 and 12, as well as adjustments in retirement age for teaching laboratories and university librarians, which was to be harmonized and set at 65 years. For KUDEHA, Chair, all the workers in grade 1 to 4 were to get a 10% increment for those grades. We were also required to state and explain to this Honorable House Committee the status of the return to work formula as of 28 October 2024. And the specific question, Chair, was what is the implementation status of the return to work formula? To this question, honorable members, I wish and IPUCF wishes to state that it is not noteworthy that the industrial action that was called by the 3 unions was called off upon signing the return to work formula on 26 September 2024. And subsequently, the staff of the 2 unions of WASU and KUSU resumed work, whereas KUDEHA workers continued working because KUDEHA had given a notice of a strike, but when they received the court injunction, they never proceeded on the strike. Secondly, Chair, thereafter, in accordance with the terms of return to work formula, a technical team comprising IPUCCF and representatives from the 3 unions met in Machakos University and simulated the salary scales for financial year 2023 and 2024 and financial year 2024-2025 and established that the cost for implementation would be 9.7 billion Kenya shillings. The said simulation took into account the salary increments of 10% for all university staff in grade 1 to 12 and 7% for all university staff in grades 13 to 15, as well as the 4% automatic annual increment and the applicable pension benefit for the staff. Chair and members, while the joint technical team was undertaking the salary simulation during the joint negotiation committee meetings of IPUCCF and the 3 unions at Machakos University on 3rd and 4th October 2024, the said unions were made aware that the available monies from the government for the CBA 2021-2025 was 4.3 billion Kenya shillings, and that the salary simulation needed to take this parameter into account.
Point of order.
Yes, out of order.
Can we have the document that made them aware of the 4.3 billion? Otherwise, you'll also be participating in hearsay.
Chair, so honorable members and Chair, during the CBA negotiations, there are very many discussions that go on, are verbal, and others are recorded. So
maybe to be clear on that,
yes.
And I want to agree with member for Kitutu Masaba on the same issue, that this was a document you conveyed to WASU, or it was a participatory discussion?
Chair, it was a participatory discussion, and in the discussion, this was made aware. Before the Machakos meeting, honorable members, the unions had a meeting.
Proceed, because it was participatory.
It was participatory. Thank you,
Proceed.
Chair. Yeah. So, Chair, the other thing we wanted to mention, Chair, is that after that was made aware to the unions rejected this parameter from being applied in salary simulation, arguing that it was not in the executed return to work formula. The said salary simulation of the Machakos was submitted by IPUCCF and the 3 unions to the Interministerial Committee on 17th October 2024 for the way forward, as had been resolved in Machakos. It is to be noted, honorable members, that the Interministerial Committee, chaired by the Principal Secretary of the State Department for Labor, was established on 30th September 2024 to coordinate negotiations between WASU, KUSU, and KUDEA workers and the government, with the goal of ensuring the timely conclusion, signing, and implementation of the 2021-2025 CBAs. During the Interministerial Committee meetings, the government noted that the salary simulation of 9.7 billion was beyond the budgetary allocation of 4.3 billion for the implementation of the entire CBA of 2021-2025. Further, the government pointed out that the Kenya shillings 4.3 billion was as a result of wide consultations within government, including the Ministry of Education and the National Treasury and Economic Planning, and was an improvement of an earlier allocation of 1.6 billion. And Chair, this is what was reported, and it was being reported to the unions at the Interministerial Committee by the PS, State Department of Higher Education and Research, and the CS, Ministry of Education, in the presence of the CS, Ministry of Labor, and the PS, State Department of Labor. To fit into this budget allocation of 4.3 billion, it was proposed during the Interministerial Committee meeting that the implementation of the CBA for 2021-2025 was to be limited to the salary adjustment of 7% and 10% increments, inclusive of the pension, and retain the current automatic annual increment used in the public universities that ranges between 2.8% to 4.1%, but without the inclusion of the fixed 4% automatic annual salary increment between all salary notches and grades as simulated by the Joint Technical Committee. And members, on the part of 4%, the contention is the union and in the return to work formula was to be applied at 4% from notch 1 to notch 12. University salaries moved from notch 1 to notch 12. So it was to be 4% from notch 1 to notch 12, automatic annual increment. Currently, we also have automatic annual increment, but it ranges from 4.1% up to 2.8%. But in the return to work formula, as insisted, it was now to be 4% for all the notches and for all the grades. Just a clarification. At a subsequent Interministerial Committee meeting held on 22nd October 2024, members, the government presented salary simulation based on the Kenya shillings 4.3 billion that included salary increments of 10% for grade 1 to 12 and 7% for grade 13 to 15, together with an applicable pension and the current automatic annual increment that ranges between 2.8% to 4.1%. Thereafter, the three unions rejected the exclusion of the fixed 4% automatic annual increment to the salary adjustments between all salary notches and grades. Subsequently, and on the same day of October 22nd, 2024, WASU issued a 7-day strike notice. The industrial action amongst WAT members commenced again on 29th October 2024. In the intervening period, on 28th October 2024, the court ruled that WASU strike was unprotected after the intervention by IPUCCF. However, as at the date of this report being tabled to this honorable committee, WASU has not called off that strike. And for records, Chair, I want you members to note that when the Secretary General of WASU was presenting, he did mention that even in Machakos, there were differences in simulation. There was option 1, simulation 2, but 9.7 is what was picked. Now, when any other person goes to simulate, depending on how you interpret the return to work formula, you are likely to come up with different figures, depending on how you are interpreting the return to work formula. What are the challenges we have faced in implementing the return to work formula? Number one, Chair, is that following the three parameters expressed, expressly provided in the return to work formula, that is the 10% increment for grade 1 to 12 and the 7% basic salary increment for grade 13 to 15. 2, the fixed 4% automatic annual salary increment between all salary notches and grades. And 3, the provision that the CBA for the cycle 2021-2025 and shall cover the last 2 years of the CBA cycle beginning 1st July, and the fourth parameter of 4.3 billion not expressly provided in the return to work formula, but which was canvassed in meetings at the Interministerial Committee and in Machakos, are incompatible when the salary simulations use all the 4 parameters simultaneously. When you try to apply all the 4 parameters simultaneously, you cannot be able to fit. That is what we are saying, Chair. The salary simulation by the Joint Technical Committee of 9.7 billion as the amount required to implement the return to work formula. The 4.3 billion allocated by the government as funds available for the implementation of the CBAs, and the rejection by the unions of the salary simulation by the government of 4.3 billion for implementation of CBAs has created the challenge that we find ourselves in today. Third challenge is that the return to work formula executed on 26 September 2024 envisaged return to normalcy of teaching and learning in the public universities. However, this has been hampered by the ongoing strike by WASU members. What are the proposed steps to resolve the dispute and resume teaching and learning in public universities? That is what this honorable committee wanted us to react to. And there are 3. Chair, IPUCF proposes the following 3 steps for resolving the dispute. Number 1, that in the light of the existing court order of 28th October 2024, WASU should call off the strike and allow resumption of teaching and learning by WASU members in the affected public universities. Secondly, that the Interministerial Committee to continue with the negotiations to conclude the 2021-2025 CBA cycles. And number 3, Chair, that as advised by the government, the 3 unions accept the Kenya shillings 4.3 billion as the funds available for the implementation of the 2021-2025 CBAs and rework the salary simulations that take into account this parameter, which was not formally included in the return to work formula, but which has been canvassed at every stage of the negotiation. Honorable members, I submit.
To bring canvassing information here, yet you have no document. If you are going to own the 4.3, I'm just directing that you present before this committee, before the end of the day, the letter indicating that you have 4.3 billion, not canvassing.
Chair, I
you don't
withdraw.
have.
Chair, there I withdraw the word canvas,
Yes.
and also not be given the burden of producing the letter for 4.3 billion, because I believe, Chair, that this honorable committee has the powers to summon the key
Chair,
officers who will be able to
Chair,
do this. But I withdraw that.
You're out of order, Professor. Yes.
Chair.
Let me open the, yes,
Chair.
yes, on the same issue, yes.
Yes, Chair. Therefore, Professor, in your entire submission, 70% of your submission is based on 4.3. Are you saying the entire document you've given to us is irrelevant, null and void?
Yes.
Through the chair, that is what I'm saying. It is irrelevant, null and void, because I'm quoting what has happened in the deliberations that we have had.
Professor, I rule you out of order, completely out of order, because this is a house of records, and every document that you presented before this committee is a document of the house. So we are asking you that, can you make sure that the 4.3 billion you are talking about is real, not canvassing, not hearsay? And I'm directing that you produce a document showing that you have 4.3, because, or else we are not going to discuss this, because surely we are not. You are taking us in circles. Yes, yes.
Yeah. As I pointed out earlier, the House of Records, and a fact must be a fact supported by evidence. Now he must expand 4.3 billion because he has no evidence about it. So you confess here that you also have no evidence because it was canvassed and someone said there is 4.3 billion without a document. So Chair, I propose, because this guy here is running away from responsibility of producing the document, putting the burden on us that we look for the document, which you cannot do. So if you don't have, then you say you have no offer to this group. That's number one. But number two, most importantly, a government officer proceeded to negotiate at 9.7 billion, a government officer. Then later on, the same government officer, the same office, says we have 4.3 billion again by word of mouth. Chairman, that's why these people are on strike.
We have Ivo Bara, and then member for Kibra, and then Toretij, and then Taitumo, and then Bakia.
Sorry, Chair, it's quite interesting, but in the absence of a document, I believe that when you're negotiating on a matter as serious as this, minutes are taken at every meeting. And when this ministry official was committing, was it minuted? Were the minutes signed to show that this conversation
Professor,
actually took place?
Of those questions, so that you'll.
Were there minutes?
Yes.
And were they signed to show that this matter actually took place? And if it was held in abeyance, again, that should have been in the minutes, which you're supposed to also table before the committee. Thank you.
Yes, member for Kibra.
Chairman, it's sad that most members took this meeting very, very seriously. Some people took flights to come to this meeting. We have taken about 30 minutes.
It's not sad. It's not sad. It is that it is good that the members took it, but it is them who are making you sad.
Very, very sad. That we listened for 30 minutes to a document that in the end of it, a highly ranked professor says he withdraws that document. I therefore propose that we stand this committee down.
Yes, Yes,
Chair, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Chair, the 4.3 billion forms the backbone of this engagement. Chair, they have not provided any document. They are only mere allegations and conversions. Chair, if that is to stand, then we're inclined to give the benefit of doubt to UASU as things stand. Chair, therefore, I want to associate myself with the sentiments of Honorable Borrero that we stand down until that document is produced before this committee so that we can be able to properly prosecute this matter. Otherwise, without that document, we may not be able to proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, sir. Member for Rwanda.
Thank you. Sorry.
Let's have member.
Thank you, Chair. It's unfortunate that you are discussing matters that was discussed, Chair, by the top minds of this country. Basically, the professors and other people who matter in this country. And to my surprise, it's as if this document was signed in haste. I'm a trade unionist myself. It does not give room anywhere for further negotiations after signing an agreement. What we refer to as return to work formula. But it seems that the agreement that you signed was somehow flawed because there is 9.7, 4.3. This document is supposed to be signed when tabulations are done. But you decided, you signed, therefore you retreat to Machakos, you retreat to other hours to do the tabulation. And that is where the problem is. Because after signing is to compute and pay per the return to work formula. But this is a flawed kind of arrangement whereby the top minds were cornered by the ministry to sign and go back to signing, and then you retreat back again to strike. And I think it's high time.
I hope UASU's secretary, you are getting what Mheshimiwa is saying. You are indicted too. No, just listen. That's why we are not. I want you to note, because what the professors are putting us to sack here, which I believe we can't discuss if they don't have a document. And even you, how did you end up signing something you are not sure of? You'll answer those questions later on. Thank you, Taitumo. You've had it. Yes, member for Rwanda.
Well, thank you, Chair. Just to agree with my members that we seem to be heading nowhere. And maybe that's why the council failed to appear before us and decided to send the vice chancellors, because they knew there was a problem somewhere. That notwithstanding, maybe a question to UASU. Going through what you people agreed, there's an issue that I wish maybe for clarity and why it captured your interest so much. We live in a country that is mostly youthful. We have a lot of young people who are highly educated with great papers. And I can see that UASU wants to live in the universities forever up to the age of 74 years. Honestly speaking, when we have young people who are qualified with great degrees, why should a lecturer actually stick in the university up to 24 years or 74 years when we have people with graduates with masters and PhDs who can actually take that? Do you think that is against the spirit of good governance and maybe patriotism, that after 60 years be a consultant and serve this country in better ways, or come into parliament, is it? But don't insist on being in the university. Two, you seem to be leading a group of people who are highly passionate.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order.
What's out of order?
He has said, you see, you have to have the element of substance. The honourable member is saying,
you're out of order.
Chair, yes. Allow me.
Yes.
Is it in order for the member to say, he has said that you can retire, go out, do something, or even come to parliament? I'm not 70, Honourable Chair. Is in order?
That's on a light touch.
A light touch.
It's on a light touch.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, and
I believe,
proceed, member for.
Thank you, Chair. I believe the member wanted to bring some comic relief, maybe because of the tension in the room. The other issue was Bana SG. We are currently in a very difficult state as a country. We are having abductions taking place in this country, intimidations taking in this country, yet you are here passionately defending the lecturers in this country. Are you feeling threatened? And in any case, have you reported such? We wish to know, because security is important in a country where abductions are happening every other day, in a country where intimidations are happening every day, and here you are defending so many lecturers around. Are you threatened? Maybe
Yes,
if so, we wish to know.
Yes.
Yeah, we are discussing a weighty matter. Is it in order for the member to digress and bring
And
other
trivialize.
issues, to trivialize the matter in front of us?
In fact, Honorable, I just want to give you
Yeah,
out of order.
it is wrong to use the word, the member should know.
Order,
I don't speak trivial issues, Chair. And
I want to
the member
guide
for...
I want to guide you, Honorable Member for Luanda. As per standing orders, the rule of relevance. Our discussion here is basically return to work formula. As much as we have insecurity issues, the discussion here is basically return to work and harmony at the university. So you are out of order to digress it.
Chair, just a minute.
Please.
Chair, it's important. His security is important. And return to work formula, that's what I want him to tell us. Thank you.
So I think let's go back to member for Mandera and then member for Narok. Eh?
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable.
One question and then we come back to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think I will agree with the members who have suggested or proposed that we stand down this committee, because without the figures, it's very difficult for us to proceed. But what I would say, Chair, is that one of the prayers by the UASU this morning is that the government and IPU CCF should strictly adhere to the terms and provisions of the return to work agreement signed on 26th November. And what is in contention, Chair, right now is that from the presentation of the IPCU CCF, that during the interministerial committee meetings, the government noted that the salary simulation of Kenya shillings 9.7 billion was beyond the budgetary allocation of 4.3 billion. What I wanted to get clarity on is this 9.7 billion from the simulation the real figure based on the amounts that were required? And if that is so, why should the government, why should IPCUF allocate 4.3 billion, although we don't have papers for those figures? And we are told this is supposed to run over 2 financial year periods, 2023, 2024, and 2024, 2025. They are not telling us that this is part of the payment, and the other part will be covered in the next financial year. So there's a lot of anomaly there. Thank you, Chair.
I think we are still discussing, members, on the preliminary of the admissibility of the information given by the IPCCUF, noting that there is no what? There is no letter, there is no offer. Therefore, if it doesn't have an offer or a letter showing that the government has given 4.3 billion, then our discussion and this presentation becomes null and void. So I just want us to stick there before we go into the nitty-gritties of this discussion. Yes, let me get to Gisairo and then Professor Barto.
Thank you, Chair. I would like there are 2 documents. Document at B, which was given by UASU, which was the return to work formula, and duly signed. Chair, I'll also like us to look at document F, which is the Machakos meeting and the simulations. Chair, I would like to ask our good professor whether IPUCCF was representing them. And if yes, I can clearly see the members led by Professor Romanus Othiambo did sign that document, which gives that using the percentage agreed in the return to work formula of 7, 10, and 4, using those ones, it gives you 9.76 billion. Now, my question is, were your representatives signing that document of Machakos as agreeing that this is the true and correct discussion and findings and the total amount is 9.7 billion, or were they signing an attendance list?
That's a very good, yes, Professor Barto, and then back to Narok.
Thank you, Chair. Sitting here and listening to the 2 parties, I'm very, very worried because the students are not getting the services of their lecturers. They are out there My question is, was this a gentleman's agreement? Because we don't seem to have any tangible document that we can place our hands and say, okay, this is 4.3 million, this is the money awarded, so that we can make progress. Otherwise, it would seem it's a case of you did, I did, you didn't do. Can we have the documents first so that we can make progress?
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, mine is almost similar to what Honorable Bato is asking. Because, Chair, you know, we are in a country where the education sector is in a crisis. And it is really very sad for us to sit here as representatives of the people and even as parents when our children are at home. It is very sad, and it is something that must be addressed immediately. But Chair, when you look at the issue UASU is raising and what IPUCCF is raising, Chair, it seems as if there is no agreement at all, even when they say that they had a meeting, a return to work formula, because when they talk of 4.3 and somebody else is talking about 4.7, as of 9.7, Chair, and then it leaves us to wonder, if you had a meeting, then why didn't you agree at the 4.3 in that meeting so that the strike is called off, and then you now come and table those evidence here and tell us this is what we had agreed, and UASU has gone against our agreement. So, Chair, there is a problem here, and these people must give us documents so that we get to execute this issue once and for all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Professor, so that we can move, and I will allow you to answer those questions. When you went to Machakos and when you entered into a return to work formula with UASU, KUSU, and KUDEA, there was a very clear understanding. And member for Kabondo has just asked you, even the minutes, even when you started simulating, there must have been a basis under which you took a simulation. It will be completely out of order from you, Professor, to give us a document mentioning 4.3, and yet you have no indication that there's an offer of 4.3 from the government. And two, it would also be very wrong on UASU that you did sign a blind document where there was no offer completely. If the offer is 4.3 and you're saying you don't have, do you have that 4.3? And when you went to Machakos and realized that the cost is going beyond to 9.7, did you ask them, now let's sit down, now we can do this? But before we go that direction, are you able to table that document before this committee? Professor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Chair, as a matter of context and explanation, initially, IPUCCF and the unions were negotiating with the joint chairs being myself and the chair of UASU in our earlier negotiations before they went on strike. When they went on strike, they demanded that they will no longer negotiate with IPUCCF, they will negotiate with the government. Then an interministerial committee was constituted whose chair is the PS State Department for Labor. I no longer, as IPUCF chair those meetings. The 4.3 billion, Honorable Chair, did not come to the unions during our meetings with them. It came when now the government was the one chairing. And it was announced by the government. The procedure, Honorable Members, is that when IPCF is negotiating with the unions, before we make any offer to the unions, we must have a written direction from government that this is what you should offer. That is the procedure. But now in the context where 4.3 was brought on board, the government was the one chairing, not myself. So I do not have
let me just tell you this.
Yes, sir.
There is no individual known as government.
Sure.
Okay. Government is you who is currently responsible at that particular position. Current government can be the CS Treasury. Government can also be that particular person taking responsibility. You can't run away from it. Yeah, you are getting that. So it is not about, my question is, before we do that, proceed with this, can you be able to tell us this is what the PS labor gave to the unions? No. Is that the position? So that members, you don't have to waste time here, because we are discussing something which is substantial, and I've realized that this strike we really respect you professors and even the doctors at the union and the universities. But I'm realizing that the whole thing is a result of poorly structured return to work formula, which was hastily done and there was no details. Professor, are you able to give us that so that we...
Chair, I can undertake to go and ask for that letter and come back to report, because up to where we are, there has never been any written document of 4.3 billion. It has only been discussed.
So in that connection, therefore, because you don't have a document, and therefore that we are not going to discuss most of what you'll put us into the same circles that you have put the UASU and KUSU. I think we stand you, Professor.
Chair.
You can't proceed with the discussion.
Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes. What to include this? Yes.
Chair, before that, Chair, you see, before we crucify the caretakers of our children called UASU, Chair, there is a document with an offer which UASU signed. UASU did not sign a blank document. Chair, I come from the business world. When I tell you, I will review your salary by 7%, that is an offer. You know what your salary is. When I tell you, I will give you a cost of living adjustment of 4%, it's signed here by the Mutua Alfred, it is signed here by Inyangala, that is government that Professor wants to tell us about. Well, they've gone and simulated, they found it to be 9.7 billion. UASU did not sign a blank document. The figure was 7%. It is up to you to go figure it out how much that will total up to. The government did not sign a blank document. It's up to the government to release our professors to go back to class by honoring what they signed.
So, members, I do not want us to do wild goose chasing. The reason is the honorable professor, and I think he's not able to table the documents before us, so that we do not want to go inferring to information that could easily be available by him. So I want to direct that we stand down this meeting, because we can't proceed, Professor. We can't proceed on that, because on the two bases, you have a very good return to work formula, and in every return to work formula, you must have figures working to it. When you have no figure, Professor, and UASU are claiming, then what are we discussing on this particular issue? So, members, let's make progress, members, on this. We have many things to do, but not to discuss an issue itself cannot table before us. So I'm directing that we call off the meeting, and we shall invite you next week. But make sure you come with all the documents as agreed in the return to in your return to work formula. Yes.
Radio 88.2 FM. We are in charge. More Radio 88.2 FM. We are in charge.